All right, new day, a new study. This one from the APA. Anybody with a guess? What is the APA? Obviously, it's the American Psychologists Association.
See, I was going to say the Association of Paternal Alligators.
So more than 7 in 10 adults, Darren, say the future of the United States is a significant source of stress in their lives.
You're bringing that up today.
It's exactly why I'm bringing it up today.
More than 7 tenths is 7 out of 10 would that be 8? Not like
7 plus adults out of 10.
Well, when you start doing...
How do you have half an adult is my question. If it's more than 7, is it 8, is it 9?
I've met a couple over my 53 years, 54 years, Dani. You can definitely meet half an adult.
This is psychology. They're like me, no math. Okay, that's the rule.
Okay, so, anyways, back to what you were saying.
They have a 3-step game plan, these psychologists. 1, step away from your screen. Back away from your screen, Darren Urban, as you look at it right now. 2, reconnect with your local community. When's the last time you reconnected with your local community, Darren?
Define community.
Well, you were in Pat's Run. You organize that every year. Number 3, think long-term rather than day-to-day headlines. And since this study comes from my alma mater, okay, I'm going to add number 4. Listen to Cardinals Underground, okay?
I don't want to get too far into this, Paul, but I do want to say when you say think about long-term, I mean, that's worse than short term right now for some of us.
I see.
But anyway,
that's good. I mean, honestly, I can always count on Darren to see the glass half empty. There's no doubt about it. He does an excellent job at seeing in that manner.
Can we dial real quick back if we're going to be talking about talking about this subject today?
This was supposed to be a quick intro, but go ahead. Yeah.
Did you know that Dani ran for office when she was in middle school?
I did not know that.
She did.
Okay.
I don't know if she won.
Didn't I purposely not tell that story in front of Craig Relu because I didn't want it to end up on the Cardinals Cover 2 podcast, and now you're going to bring it up on Cardinals Underground?
I wasn't going to say anything else. I was just going to say you ran for office.
Then let's leave it at that. I didn't just run. I won.
Oh, see? I didn't even know that.
That's a
Were you
flex
president?
right there.
No.
Were you president?
No.
Treasurer?
I'm not going to tell you. It's not important.
Did you have one of those Napoleon Dynamite T-shirts? Vote for Dani. Did you have one of those?
I just have posters around the school.
Posters. Okay.
She's got a better one than that. Better slogan than that.
Really?
I'm not going to bring it up.
You're going to drop that, but not fill in the blank.
I'm not going to do that.
Really?
I wouldn't do it today.
Dani, are you at liberty to mention your campaign slogan?
This is so stupid.
It's not. It's really good.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
What the heck? Vote Sureck.
There we go.
I think that's quality.
Yeah. Why not?
That was for middle school student council.
Okay. All right.
I saw.
And then I was on student council for through high school.
We need one more banner in here. What the heck? Vote for Sureck. I like that.
I did see a picture on Twitter today. Somebody in another state, their polling place was at a school. It looked like maybe a middle school.
Okay.
So there was this very official polling place, come down this hallway here, very official, red, white, and blue and everything. And right above it was some kind of hand-drawn, vote for Jenny for school treasurer right above it. I'm like, that's quality.
Okay.
Anyways.
So, all right. So here we go. Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation, your anti-election, anti-anxiety answer to November 5th. Here we go. I know I'm looking forward to November 6th because for about 5, maybe 6 weeks, at least 5 or 6 times a day, I get a text message addressed to Janet.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been sending those.
I've been misidentified as a voter by the name of Janet, and apparently Janet has not voted yet because I keep getting hammered with spam that, Janet, we need you, Janet, get to the polls. They actually just sent Janet her address, her place of residence was just sent to my number. We know where you live, Janet. Go vote.
I think that might be an Android malfunction. I don't think that's happening on an iPhone.
Does it always have to come back to the technology?
I was going to go back to are we sure that Paul didn't take Janet's phone at some point?
You know what? That would be an upgrade. Hey, Janet, if you want to swap, the trade deadline just came and went.
How do you become Janet? Because aren't those text messages? Because mine are all addressed to my dad because we're on the same family plan. So is your phone family plan under Janet?
There's no Janet at Casa Calvisi. I can confirm there's no Janet. So I don't know.
We got to be careful. This has been another topic among this election season, Janet and Paul and everything. So
Janet, if you're listening, listening, I'll throw
vote.
I'll throw
vote.
in a 7th-round pick if you want to swap phones. So just let me know. I'm sure
Although,
it would be an upgrade.
For everybody out there, if you're listening to this after Tuesday, don't vote. It's over.
Well, Paul, the trade deadline is passed, so is that considered tampering, what you're doing to Janet?
Oh, no. All right, before I get fined, Darren,
Yes.
what was was it Baron Browning and?
Baron Browning. It was Baron Browning.
Okay, all right.
It was
that's
just
good.
Baron Browning.
That's good. Okay.
And I think, again, and we've talked about this many, many times, and I think all of us kind of agreed that there wasn't going to be a splashy kind of addition, but there was an addition, and there is a guy that plays off the edge. We'll see what happens. It's funny. When you listen to Jonathan Gannon, especially or Nick Rallis talk about this guy, what's the first thing you notice? Oh, he can play 3 downs. He can play against the run, and he can play. I mean, they went and got a guy that was going to fit in this defense, which was what I thought if they made a move, that was always going to be important. They weren't going to get a guy who wasn't interested in playing half the game or only wanted to go get sacks or was all about the sacks. That's just not who they want.
It's funny because he cited versatility as that sort of player for Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon. I thought he was going to start with mentality.
Oh, yeah?
Because he's a guy that they studied extensively 3 years ago coming out of Ohio State.
Which, by the way, I don't like how this team is collecting Ohio State players. I just thought I'd mention that.
And Paris Johnson Jr. went against him as a freshman. Paris said he was 18 and like 280-something, and he went against Baron Browning his freshman year at Ohio State.
And Browning's last year, yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, he has that mentality that the Cardinals are looking for. He's all ball, deadly serious. I've had a couple people tell me he has a mean streak about him. Okay, that's all good. These are all big-time positives for Jonathan Gannon. And according to Paris, he's got that sort of bend, that sort of explosiveness off the edge you can't teach. And the word out of Denver is great talent, huge upside, persistent problem with injuries. That's what's held him back. He has not played a complete season yet in 4 years.
I think he's also gone down on the depth chart a little bit, and that was probably a reason why Denver was willing to also be involved with this trade. Browning fits what Nick Rallis wants on this defense, and when you're looking at the type of players, the type of character in that outside linebackers room and how they're utilized, using that rotation, using the skill set that those players have. And Browning has racked up in his career 9.5 sacks, 22 quarterback hits. The Cardinals defense is coming off a game where they generated some nice pressure against the Bears offensive line and the quarterback Caleb Williams. So how do they carry that on? How do you carry that over week to week? And they need bodies. I mean, you're down Dennis Gardeck for the season. You're down BJ Ojolari for the season. You needed a body in this room. This makes sense for what the Cardinals needed. Browning will be a pending free agent when the season ends, so depending on how he plays, the Cardinals can make a decision there. And to give up a 6th-round pick still puts the Cardinals in a good position when you're looking at their other draft placements for next year.
Two other things. One, speaking of the picks, Denver still is very much interested in reaccumulating picks after they gave them all away in the Russell Wilson deal when George Payton, the GM, was voted the Seahawks team MVP that year. And then number 2, you had Baron Browning, who started his career inside. So there's a lot of talent evaluators who thought Denver misused Baron Browning early in his career, and he's most definitely an outside guy, an edge guy. So let's see. And he's in a contract year, like you said, so that's further motivation. We'll see how he balls out. And would anybody be surprised if he's on the field against the Jets? Would anybody be surprised if he's plug and play? I wouldn't be. They'll find a role. They'll find a package for him, right?
You'll find something, I would imagine, for him to get out there week one
and
get
shape.
Involved. And then, right, he is in game shape. And then the positive is, after this Jets game, the Cardinals have their bye week. So that's extra time for Browning to really get comfortable with this system and find more use for him after that bye week.
Yeah, he played Sunday for the Broncos against the Ravens. And now, again, you can have him in it won't be a complicated package by any stretch of the imagination, but you're right. I don't see any reason. Well, I shouldn't say that. This team's coming off its best defensive performance, arguably, of the season. Maybe they say, you know what, we'll wait a week. Probably not, because you're only going to have him for so long. But the guys who they were playing at outside linebacker had pretty good games all the way around, right?
Yeah, big brain Craig Grillo had all those numbers in the pass rush. Was it a 46% pressure rate?
Yes.
Is that what I heard?
Yeah, but I mean, again, I don't want to throw we don't want to throw cold water on stuff, but it is clear that the weakest part of the Chicago Bears is their offensive line.
Yeah.
What was impressive, though, that was a 46% pressure rate on dropbacks. Pressures by 16 different Cardinals defenders. That's what's impressive. This was not a 1 or 2 man job. This was all hands on deck, every player doing their role, and it paying dividends.
He also held on to the ball a long time.
He did.
And Aaron Rodgers is going to be the anti-Caleb Williams. He's going to get rid of the ball quick.
Well, because he better.
Yeah.
Because he's not running around like Caleb Williams.
Yeah, he's got the anti-mobility of Caleb
Yes.
Williams. Yeah, there's no. By the way, and we'll get back to this real quick because it was earlier today. Aaron Rodgers on Budda Baker, quote, "Watching Budda Baker on film is really impressive. Fun to watch. Got to be aware of him. Big hits, great tackler. Few secondary guys over the years where I've got to really know where they're at." And then he started name dropping Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, Charles Woodson, Rondé Barber.
Just means he's old.
And then he went on to say about
Roger
Budda Baker.
Worley, Larry Wilson,
Quite the
Jim
impressive,
Thorpe.
Yeah.
quite the impressive list for Baker to find himself on.
You're ruining the moment for Budda Baker from Aaron Rodgers,
I know,
from the
sorry.
Almighty himself, when he says there's a ton of respect for his tape
know,
and it
you're
doesn't
right.
lie, and
You're
Budda's
right.
tape is, quote, pretty damn good, end quote. I'm coming back to what we've debated the
was
last few years. Is this the best season of his career?
It's funny because there was a question in the mailbag this week saying that they felt like Budda needs to be moved to like Dayon Buchanan dollar backer so they can get Rabbit on the field. And I'm like, no, I think you're good right where Budda's doing his job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that Garrett Williams was in a safety spot quite often in this last game. So in some ways, now that Max Melton, I think, is ascending, would we all agree with that? Starling Thomas playing some pretty good ball. If you get Sean Murphy bunting back, Keitrell Clark got a start against Chicago.
But only 8 snaps, so
Right.
that might have been,
And okay, you ready for my hot take? I've only had my oven mitt on here.
Dude,
Come on,
we
Paul.
barely started. You're already
Where
going
are
to
the
hot
props?
takes?
Was Keitrell Clark starting because he was being showcased before the trade deadline?
That is some major gameplay going on, if that's the case.
It's a moot point because he wasn't moved. But anyway, that was just a quick hot take thought
Well-
from the sideline.
If you start, that's really one snap. Right?
Yep.
If you're going to showcase him, teams are going to look at more than just the first 3 seconds of the game.
Which really undermines my hot take. So you're right.
Sorry.
I'll move it along right here. My point,
apologize.
my original point was Garrett Williams playing a little bit of safety in certain situations. So I think this is just abject speculation, and I know you guys will disagree, and you won't hesitate to disagree if that's the case. But
True.
if you're trying to confuse a quarterback, now good luck against Aaron Rodgers, but in this case you had a rookie quarterback. So if you're taking Budda and Jalen Thompson, high IQ, very versatile guys, really experienced Garrett Williams, high IQ, and you're sort of mixing those guys around. Wait, who's the post safety? Who's in the box? Post snap, guys are snapping into different things, disguising. From what I could tell, and there's a lot of chaos on the sideline, that was a really effective strategy, I thought, in that Bears game.
The Cardinals defense did exactly what they wanted to do, which was affect Caleb Williams back there. And Williams was hanging on to the ball for quite some time, in large part because of that tight coverage. The Cardinals secondary was on their A game. There were back-to-back plays where the Bears tried to throw a corner fade in the end zone. And the first one was broken up by Max Melton and the next one by Starling Thomas. Garrett Williams had a great game, some really big stops. And then, of course, you pair that with the pass rush that Arizona was able to generate. It was a really nice overall performance by the defense. I am not prepared with a prop because it's just come to me. But if, Paul, you're going to get another prop, might I suggest a Swiss Army knife when talking about Garrett Williams? He played outside cornerback in college, came here as he was rehabbing, and then last year as a rookie, the final half of the season when he started playing, they moved him inside to the slot. We've seen him in the safety position. He has really had a nice season so far. Are you writing down by Swiss Army knife?
I am. I won't.
Can you find a Cardinals branded
I won't
one?
remember it past this podcast.
It's a good week to write a Garrett Williams story. I think somebody should get on that.
That's a good idea.
Someone's on top of that. Someone's been there and done that. Who's more versatile then, Garrett Williams or Zaven Collins? Because Zaven Collins also being dialed up. Or is this becoming more the norm than the exception?
I mean, again, we go back to why they traded for a guy like Browning as opposed to some pure edge rusher. And this is why. Because of everything you said. I think one of the reasons they had so much success against Caleb Williams is exactly what you're talking about, which is you can put all these different guys doing all these different things, and you don't know exactly what's going to happen from down to down. You can't do that if you have guys that are more pigeonholed into one role. Now, again, you can make the argument the other way. Okay, now you've got a bunch of jack of all trade, master of none guys, but I think with the way this defense is set up right now, that's the way to go. Is try and confuse people the best you can, and it'll be interesting to see. The Jets' offensive line is okay. I don't think it's great. If you can stop the Jets' run, is Aaron Rodgers going to be good enough? I mean, I've watched enough games with Aaron Rodgers that, yeah, he still gets the ball out really quick this year, and I watch him too much because he's on national TV way too much.
6 times already, I believe.
They just flexed one of his next games out. His next game was flexed out, so there's that. But just because he tries to get the ball out early doesn't mean he can all the time, and you can get to him, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Well, which Aaron Rodgers are you getting? The first half in that win against Houston, he said after the game, that's about as bad as I can play. He was terrible. He had like 30-something yards passing. Second half, he led 3 touchdown drives, all 70 or more yards. So did the Jets offense find something in the second half against Houston, or did Houston just get worn down in that game? Man, did C.J. Stroud, you talk about regressing. He didn't look anywhere near what he looked like. You want to talk
about bad offensive lines. That's where the Texans are right now. I mean, Laramie Tunsil's supposed to be one of the best tackles in the league, and he is not having a good year.
No.
He has like 15 penalties already.
I am excited, while we're briefly going to talk about offensive linemen for the Jets, Tyron Smith, who was in Dallas when I was there, who is, if you want to describe a gentle giant, that is Tyron Smith to a T, who is one of the nicest, calmest demeanors of a player, which is quite contradictory because the man wears a knee brace on his elbow because there weren't elbow braces that were big enough. He could literally snap my neck like a nutcracker if he wanted to. Nicest guy, though. Sidebar.
That's good info right there.
How about that? You can use that on a sideline hit if you want, Paul.
I mean, the man, and the sideline.
A gentle giant.
Can we cut that out there, Omo, that clip? He could crack me like a nutcracker, but he's really nice.
You need that'd be great for the telestrator. You circle the elbow brace, say just to let everyone know that's really a knee brace because they don't make elbow braces big enough to fit his arm. That's good info right there. But you know what, Paris Johnson Jr.
Same kind of guy.
Gentle giant.
Is that a knee brace he's wearing on his elbow? Has that been confirmed?
I don't know. And
might have to look into that.
I don't know what kind of nutcracker he is either.
Okay. I have no idea where
I
was
love
going
stumping
in this
Paul.
one. I tell you, when in doubt, I'm just going to come back.
I do have a question if we're going to speak about you being on the sideline.
Oh, no.
Was that the first time you've ever been at a game at State Farm Stadium with the roof open while it's rained and hailed?
That is a definitive yes.
You did not get wet, though, did you? You were far enough back that you could get covered?
This is how unaccustomed to rain at the stadium I was. I sat there just taking it, just getting rain down, right? I'm there near the white stripe. I'm getting rain down.
Because you're a gamer, Paul.
Wow, I'm an idiot. I brought rain gear to Green Bay, used it. Brought rain gear to Miami, didn't need it. But in 2016, I needed an arc in 2016, so I had it. I've never brought rain gear to a Cardinals home game in my life, including Sun Devil Stadium. I'm getting rain down, and then I realized, no, wait a minute. This isn't an open-air stadium, so all I did was step back about 5 to 10 steps behind the bench, and all of a sudden there was protection because the roof line began just behind the bench. So at that point, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm already soaked, but for next time this happens, at least I have the home
next time.
I have the home field awareness, and it'll never. And then at that point, it started hailing. So it's always something with the Bears coming to Arizona. There's always something. There's some sort of insanity, zany happenings. By the way, that reminds me. Got this. Anybody, show of hands. Anybody have YouTube TV as their provider?
No.
Yes.
Okay. How many, in addition to text messages intended for Janet, I would say I get a half dozen Sunday Ticket promotional emails per day. But finally, I got one that was not Sunday Ticket, and it was find the shows that fit your mood. We've got TV for all your feels. Okay. And then they have categories where you can select the TV.
Do you have feels,
viewing.
Paul? You don't seem like a
Where are we
feels
going
guy.
with
to me.
This could be entertaining. Darren, define feels here in 2024.
Just whatever vibe you're in at the time.
Good. So you can select your TV show based on your vibe, if you will. There's a category titled Cozy, a category titled Groovy, Goofy, Swoony, and Intense. I'm asking the two of you, when you see the Arizona Cardinals all alone in first place in the NFC West standings,
We should have had an intro for this.
how would you describe your mood, i.e. your feels?
Could
From
you give
that
us
list, I'd go
again?
with
No, you can
Groovy.
create your
Oh,
own.
okay.
Or you can choose from the list: cozy, groovy, goofy, swoony, intense, or fill in the blank.
groovy.
Groovy is where I was
Groovy.
going with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd go with intense because you know what? I want to stick it to the Niners and the Rams. And the only words better than first place Cardinals are last place Seahawks, which is now the case. You got to make sure that continues through the
Have
rest
you
of
called
this year.
Pete Carroll yet to see how he's feeling?
You know what? The way the Seahawks are trending, they might want to call Pete Carroll back. I'm going to say that right now. So, all alone in first place.
You've got to. I think Jonathan Gannon and the team approach this the right way. But as we head into this Jets game and this team has a chance to be 6-4 at the bye, I'll be honest. I did not think they would be 6-4 at the bye. I didn't think they'd be necessarily a lot worse than that, but I didn't think they would be 6-4. And I certainly, whatever their record was, I did not think they were going to be in first place. And if they're 6-4, they're going to be in first place.
Not only would they be 6-4, knock on fake wood over here, but think about the fact they have one of the easiest schedules remaining. After just navigating the toughest start any team has played in terms of schedule based on this year's win-loss records.
It's always a dangerous road to take there, Paul.
But wait,
easiest schedule.
Wait, there's more, Darren. Jonah Williams tracking to come back, maybe
That's
after
true.
the bye. Darius Robinson tracking to come back, we think, maybe after the bye. So you would get a quality O lineman and a quality D lineman back as you head down the back end of your schedule, Dani.
More important than the strength of your schedule this back half of the season, the fact that the Cardinals are really starting to get rolling. The defense has looked good consistently when you're talking about tight coverage by your secondary, generating some pass rush, really being efficient in the red zone and goal-to-go situations. The defense has really been stepping up to the plate and performing in a way they need to for the offense to put enough points on the board to win the game. The offense has been rolling. It hasn't been consistent in terms of having a really strong run and pass performance together on a week-to-week basis. What is important is the Cardinals are doing what it takes to win. Against the Bears, it was running the ball. The week prior against the Dolphins, it was passing the ball. And they're finding ways to adjust in the game. They're finding ways to make sure everybody is prepared and on the same page based upon the defense they're facing. And they're finding ways to go out and put points on the board. I like the fact that this team has continued to do a better job of not shooting themselves in the foot in terms of penalties or general mistakes that you don't want to be seeing. Now, there are still miscommunications, more so still in the passing game. There are still drop passes being done. This team is not perfect by any means. The important thing is they're finding ways to win games, or as offensive coordinator Drew Petzing likes to say, finding ways to get one more point than your opponent.
You know, we had Drew Stanton, and that was a real treat this week on the Red Sea Report. Haven't seen the former Cardinals quarterback in a while. He's busy, you know. He's got a lot of kids. He's got a lot of responsibilities. But anytime you can get...
I just don't think he likes to see you and Craig, but that's just me.
That's part of it. Me in particular, I can tell you that right now. He doesn't like the cut of my jib. I get that sense from Drew, but, you know, he's a competitor. It's cool. You know, I try and match him up, try and lock him down on air.
At some point, maybe after you get your new phone, you can get a new jib.
There he is, as I ignore that. And he's sitting there, and he had a few observations because he was at the game. He echoed what you said earlier. He thought Caleb Williams was uncomfortable the entire game. Cardinals did an excellent job.
You could see that.
Yeah, he's just uncomfortable, right? Just never in sync. It was so much craziness at the line of scrimmage. He had a hard time keeping his eyes downfield. And then he talked about the Cardinals' ability to run the ball, the fact they did not abandon the run. If you can run it, why give it up? Just stoke it again. Here it comes again until you stop it. No need to go 5 wide and put something pretty on film. Just go ahead, keep running the ball.
Cram it vertical, as
exactly.
you like to say.
And then he brought up something that was interesting. He said, you can always get a sense of a team's culture. For example, when the receivers combine for 2 catches, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. He said, there are plenty of, shall we say, diva receivers in the league who'd rather get their numbers than a win. They'd rather get 10 and 100-plus receiving and a touchdown or 2 than the dub. And he said the fact that you can do that the receivers and the quarterback didn't put up big stats at all, and everyone just says, all right, and they're on board. And he said that is a sign of a really strong culture. He's like, fans don't want to hear it, but that is where every successful rebuild starts. That's true, Stanton.
Team over you. That's what this staff in front office is preaching, and they mean it. That's not lip service.
This podcast too, Dani.
This podcast as well. It's a week-to-week league of what it's going to take to win and beat your opponent. Sometimes that's passing the ball. Sometimes that's running the ball if the pass game isn't working. The Cardinals have done a nice job figuring out what is working and not abandoning the run. This week, it was more than just James Conner, which is really all we've seen, all you've really needed to see all season. Amari DiMercado had a great game. That 53-yard touchdown run at the end of the first half was incredible. The Bears defense was not expecting that at all. The Cardinals really weren't expecting that at all. They were just hoping for 5 or 6 yards to get in a field goal range. The rookie Trey Benson had arguably his best game of the season. He found the end zone for the first time this year, really showcasing the different skill sets that running backs room provides this offense. Even if you don't have Conner out on the field, doesn't mean there's going to be a drop-off.
Here's the other thing he brought up, and it's funny because this was echoed by the head coach this week on his TV show. Cardinals ran 34 times for 213 yards, 6.3 a carry, and Kyler Murray was not a factor in the run game. It was 30 carries by running backs for over 200 yards, which, in the past, okay, the Cardinals have run for over 200 yards 3 of the last 4 games last year. They did it against the Rams, but in a lot of those cases, it's Kyler ripping off a 20 or 30-yard run or having 5 carries for 50-plus yards. You didn't need the quarterback run game in this one. It was all running backs. And then a Trey McBride, which was good. I guess they'd been sitting on that for a long while. That's what Gannon told us after the game in the radio interview. Then Drew Petzing said they even practiced that last season. So it sounds like that had been on the play sheet for a while, and they finally dialed up Trey McBride. By the way, the first rushing touchdown by a Cardinals tight end since
Jackie Smith.
1968.
Do I get that for Wise Guy?
No,
Absolutely
that was
not.
the first official carry for McBride in his career as well. It was true McBride fashion that he found a way, a reason, to stiff arm somebody to get in the end zone, because it's not a true Trey McBride touchdown if he's not shaking off a defender or pushing his way through someone to get there.
It's rare for a tight end to have 2 touchdowns on the year. Neither one of them are a receiving touchdown.
That's right, because the other one was a fumble recovery.
Yes.
You're right. I didn't think about that. Although, Dani, the other element, if only there was a hurdle involved as well, getting in, right? What'd you say? The
He got
stiff
that
arm?
later.
And,
He
He's had 2 hurdles
That's
this
true.
year.
That's true. He did,
Although Saquon
They were both-
Barkley,
yeah, they were both
that was
forward
after
facing.
Saquon Barkley, so
But what did you think of the game played by Kyler Murray? I mean, what do you think Kyler thinks of a game like that?
I saw a guy post game who was happy they won, but I think he wants to be a bigger part of that. Like, I don't think he was upset in any way, shape, or form, but I do get. I mean, I go back to the week before where he threw for 300 yards, and he said after that win, "I know we're a running team, but we can do some things through the air." And he wanted to make sure that was known. And then after this game, he's kind of like, "Yeah, it's not often that we can win like this when I don't play very well." And I'm sure it bums him out that he didn't have a bigger impact. He likes to throw look, he's made clear over the years, like he's going to do what it takes to win, and he understands they can run the ball. And they did run the ball really well with the running backs, but he likes to throw the ball now.
Yeah. Craig Grelu reminded me, he said, do you remember what you called Kyler or wanted to call Kyler in the preseason? I said, no. And he said, game manager. I said, that's right. Did we not talk about that? A really good development for the Arizona Cardinals would be if we got to the point and said, you know what, we can accuse Kyler Murray of being a game manager because there's so many weapons around him. It's such a complete offense that you don't need Kyler to be Superman. And that might have been the first win where we can actually say Kyler Murray was more of a game manager than a Pro Bowl, superior athletic talent.
Yeah, but I that's still a week-to-week thing. I thought he had to be Superman a little bit in Miami.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, especially third
He
and
did.
4.
I mean, evading those sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, like, I think I don't think the offense or this team has gotten to the point where he's a game manager. I think it's nice to have a game where he is that. But my guess is most weeks you are going to have, I mean, at least Clark Kent looking for the phone booth, if not full-on Superman.
If Murray were a true game manager, defenses would not be game planning for the Cardinals the way they are. I don't think Kyler Murray's ever going to be a true quote-unquote game manager because of the way
too good.
Yeah, and his legs specifically. You can't not account for a quarterback who can move as fluidly and as quickly and be as agile as Murray is. You can't. And that's also not who he is as a person and a competitor. Murray absolutely wants to give his all, even after great games. He always talks about plays he wants to have back, how he can be better, how he can lead this team to be better. I like seeing that leadership this year from Murray after wins and losses of how the team played well, what they can do better on. Not just him individually, the team as a whole. So honestly, that's what you want to hear from a quarterback after a game like that. Is the most important thing is you get the team win. And yeah, you're going to be a little hard on yourself for wanting to have a better performance.
Dani, have you ever used a phone booth, by the way?
Yes, because was
it actually to make a phone call?
No, I think it was like fake.
To take a selfie?
I think so. I'm thinking one in particular, like a photo from a family vacation. I think of being in one, thinking it was cool, and then also payphones.
I'm just trying to avoid the inevitable weekly L over here is what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to buy time. And can I pull an Anthony Richardson and just tap out right now?
Oof.
Chris, DJ Moore, you mean?
Yikes.
Before I'm told to segue to Wise Guy Trivia.
It's time for The Wise Guy, the world's fastest growing Cardinals quiz show. The stakes are low. The winner gets absolutely nothing. Here's your hostess with the mostest, Dani Sureck.
I feel like I need to do like a fancy pageant wave when they say my name. Paul, you actually got a lot of love.
No, I didn't.
For your Wise Guy efforts in Darren's mailbag this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people love an underdog story.
You mean the elimination of criticism becomes love? Probably not.
Well, Darren is up 8-1 on you this season on Wise Guy.
8-1.
Wait, mathematically, if you win every other week, could you win?
Please tell me I haven't been mathematically eliminated by Halloween. Please tell me that.
Because
that is my only rule in the NFL. Just don't mathematically eliminate yourself by Halloween.
I want to make you feel better, Paul.
Okay.
You had the best week in the picks this week. You were 11-3.
Okay.
You picked up 2 games on both myself and Dani.
Oh, nice.
So now I blew my 2-game lead already. You and
Okay.
I are tied at 85-44.
There you go.
Dani also was 9-5 like I was, so she has picked up
Yeah, I blame
games.
Aaron Rodgers because I kept picking the Jets. And then last week when I was very vocal about not doing that anymore, and the Jets have been winning now.
Dani, I did the same thing. I took the Jets, lost. Just sort of like I got sick of Joe Burrow. I benched him in fantasy, and then he threw 5 touchdowns. So I'm going to take it out on somebody. That somebody now is Darren. Bring it. Let's go.
Darren, as the reigning champion, would you like to receive or defer?
I'm going to defer.
Paul.
Okay, bring it.
1 through 4, pick a question.
Oh, obviously this week it's 2.
Obviously.
Okay, here we go.
It's no doubt.
Come on, Paul.
Say, told me in my ear, go with 2.
This former Jets defender appeared in 17 games for the Cardinals and made his 5th and final career Pro Bowl while playing for Arizona in 2013. Who was it?
Okay, wait a minute. Say the beginning again. I'm sorry. I like ADD over here. Say it again.
Okay, lock in with me, Paul.
I got to lock in.
Okay. This former Jets defender appeared in 17 games for the Cardinals and made his 5th and final career Pro Bowl while playing for Arizona in 2013. Who was it?
Got to be Kerry Rhodes.
It does not have to be Kerry
Come
Rhodes.
on!
Darren, who is it?
No!
Antonio Cromartie?
No. John Abraham. 11 and a half sacks in 2013.
Abraham. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, okay. All right.
That's a good one.
Send that
Stumped
to
you
Kerry.
both.
Send it to the former Big Red Rage host, though. I had his back on that one.
Darren, pick a
I
number.
would have gone with Kerry Rhodes, too.
Yeah, dang
Number
it.
1, please.
In both 1995 and 1997, the Cardinals made a trade with the New York Jets. The two players acquired in those deals played key offensive roles on the 1998 Cardinals wildcard playoff team. Which players were they?
Rob Moore is one of them. And the other one is Johnny Johnson?
Not correct. Paul, you could steal.
Shout out San Jose State, by the way, and Johnny Johnson. Here we go. Adrian Morrell.
Oh, Adrian Morrell. That's a good one.
Correct. Paul has
How
stolen a
about that?
point.
How about that?
You get this right, you win.
Here we go. Okay. All right. Here we go. Now I got to really lock in right now. I
Okay.
mean, come on now.
Question 3
Boy,
or
I'm
4.
struggling today.
3 or 4.
Damn
Let
Jets.
it come to me here. 4. Let 4 wash over me. Here we go.
During his career and in retirement, former Jets and Cardinals safety Kerry Rhodes dipped his toe in the movie, television, and music industries.
no.
You always get these questions, Paul.
way.
In 2009, Rhodes appeared in Lady Gaga's music video for the hit song Paparazzi. What was the occupation of Kerry's character in the music video?
Okay, I got this.
No,
I
you
got this.
don't.
No, I have this. It's law enforcement. He's a police officer.
How do you know
How
that?
about that? How
Are you a
about
Lady
that?
Gaga fan?
That's right. I do appreciate the talent that is Lady Gaga. You're not going to find any on my phone or my playlist, but very talented individual. But come on, as a former co-host with Kerry Rhodes on the Big Red Rage, give me a little credit. I know a bit about his background.
There you
So
go.
I love that for you, Paul.
I told you that 4 washed over me. That was a specific type of question.
Is that the first movie? No, I guess maybe you had Ferris Bueller last week.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah,
Darren.
Oh my goodness.
I already lost.
You still want to finish though?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The New York Jets do not have a mascot. However, they do have one of the most recognizable fan bases in the NFL. This fan specifically is best known for leading the Jets, 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 Jets chant. Can you name him?
Fireman Ed?
Yes, how do you know that?
I was just thinking to myself, Dani talking about mascots is a dangerous, dangerous thing these days.
Okay, you guys saw though
I did.
Blue, the Colts mascot, get into a fight with like an elementary school kid that halftime
Yeah.
performance
Yeah,
football
it
game.
wasn't good.
The kid ripped off the Blues jersey.
I did not see this.
No, it was quality.
A school-age
Gets me riled
kid.
up.
Well, they were playing like one of those games at halftime.
Halftime.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Blue tackled him and pushed
And when
him around.
I made sure Dani saw it, she said, "It's on brand, isn't it?"
Yeah, not just me. Okay, yay or nay, do you
Yeah.
feel like doing the tiebreakers for a team that we don't play often?
By the way, here's this headline.
I'll do whatever you want, hostess.
Fireman Ed news you can use with the Jets coming to town. Here it is in the New York Post. Jets superfan Fireman Ed says team is phasing him out at MetLife
Yes,
Stadium.
that's- yeah.
It's been a tough year for Fireman Ed.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway,
Paul,
go
do you
ahead.
feel like, as the winner, do you feel like doing a tiebreaker just for fun?
You know what? Yeah, I think I'm on a roll
Okay.
and I'm on a heater
He
right now.
usually wins
So
the tie.
give me
Closest,
give me the
you
dice
do.
again.
Yeah, you are good at these. Closest
Everyone
to the
wants
number
me to
wins.
throw the dice. Here we go.
Okay. As previously mentioned, the New York Jets do not have a mascot, including the Jets. How many NFL teams do not have mascots?
Oh boy. 7.
I was gonna say 8.
The correct answer is 4.
4.
Paul would have won. Congratulations, Paul. You get your second win.
Okay. All right. There you go. How about that? How about that?
Boy, this was just a bad bet. That was all Devin Booker against the 76ers performance by me, baby.
And Darren now has to sit with that, unless we do Wise Guy next week before the bye. I'm not sure if we're going to include that yet, but in which case,
Can we come
Darren
up
might
with
have
4
to.
questions about doing nothing over the
Darren
weekend?
might have to sit with a loss for 2 weeks.
Olmo is saying we will have a wise guy next week.
Okay.
By the way, is there when you talk about like mental prowess, right, and intellect, which we leave lacking every week on Wise Guy Trivia? Jeff Rodgers, I like this headline: Assistant Coach of the Year. That is an actual award, is it not?
It is.
That is really interesting.
Now, do I think Jeff Rodgers is going to win it? Probably not. Special teams is probably not going to. It's usually going to be an offensive or defensive coordinator. But Jeff Rodgers is on a heater right now. Talk about being on a heater.
It's amazing, too, with the voice. Okay, so he's leaving the field after the win, 29-9. They beat the Bears, and I happened to be walking down the tunnel and with him, and I turned and I said, "We did just see an onside punt, correct?" Because, that's the way it works in journalism. I tell you guys, you don't think you know, you confirm you know. And he whispered. And we had 11 guys call for a fair catch. And I'm like, completely lost his voice. I'm like, how did he even coach? He said he actually used a couple of players that were inactive for the game to secondarily yell out what he was trying to get across. That is amazing. I never caught on to that.
He also, by the way, apparently on film review, if that's what he said to you after the game, he threw Dortch under the bus and said everybody was supposed to signal for a fair catch, and Greg Dortch did not.
He did not. See, wow, Dortch has been there and done that. You know what I mean?
Dortch had a 27-yard punt return that set up that touchdown. So, I mean, again, that unit all the way around with Blake Gillikin and Chad Ryland and Joey Blunt and Greg Dortch and all the cover guys.
Max Melton deserves love on special teams.
Yep.
I mean, they've been. I've covered this team since 2000, so this is year number 20 or season number 25. This is by far the best overall special teams unit I've seen, in my opinion.
And is that just strictly the eyeball test? Can you really quantify that? I mean, it's field position.
Can I quantify it? I cannot. But I can never remember a time when, you feel like the kicker is money. Oh yeah, the punter gets it done every time. Oh yeah, the coverage on punts is excellent. Oh yeah, they have something. Now again, with the return game, it's a little bit better right now because of the last few years because they've changed the rules a little bit. So you have some, but I mean, this team was the first team to get a kickoff return for a touchdown with the new rules. And they brought in guys. You mentioned Max Melton. We were talking about Joey Blunt. DJ Dallas is, I knew he was on Seattle. I knew he was a backup running back. You don't really think much about guys, a kickoff return, whatever. Now that you see him every day and what he is and the how he's built, like he's a monster on special teams.
And mentally, he's an alpha. DJ Dallas, you're thinking, bit player, role player. No, he's a dude. Like he is an alpha. He is down there.
He thrives on chaos, Paul. He said that.
That's right. I mean, there's a reason every member of the Colts in the joint practice wanted a piece of DJ Dallas. He's kind of an instigator.
Oh yeah. He blew that guy up in the Colts practice.
Yeah, he's sort of that guy, but he's supremely confident in his own abilities. Just the fact he sat under that punt, that thing was up there. That was an unbelievable rainmaker. It's like if you're at a baseball game and somebody hits one straight up the chute, and it's up there. It was up there for more than 5 seconds. Yes. And he just caught that with aplomb, just complete ease.
And he may be the only active NFL player I've ever heard of that lives in Mesa and wasn't even on the Cardinals. I don't know many players that live in Mesa.
You're right, because he got out of Seattle in the offseason, his 4 years with the Seahawks, and he came and he lived in Mesa and he trained in the Valley, so he knew exactly what he was doing when he signed with the Cardinals, knew exactly where he was going. And by the way, a little fun factoid for those of us just here on Cardinals Underground, because this came up, and I went in to confirm with DJ Dallas just last week. I don't know if he's currently the Cardinals' emergency quarterback, but he did serve as the Seahawks' emergency quarterback, and he has attempted a pass in his career. Now, I'm going to save you guys, as fellow journalists, don't ask him about the pass because it was picked off. But he has attempted a pass, and he has played emergency quarterback in the NFL because he was a 4-star recruited quarterback out of high school.
Respectfully, Paul, I hope I never have to know that.
Yeah, exactly. So DJ Dallas news that maybe you can't use on that one, but we thought we'd throw that out there. What else stands? Oh, by the way, you want a name drop?
Sure.
J.J. Watt. Go.
Well, you just name dropped him.
Well, yeah, but you're the one.
No, but you're the one who connected with him. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw J.J. Watt walk in on the field right past me pregame, and I did a double take. I was not expecting to see him there. He's working for NFL on CBS this year. He's doing a really nice job with their panel, and was at State Farm Stadium, just hanging out in the broadcast booth, expanding his knowledge and possibly expanding maybe some of his roles throughout the season, something to keep an eye on. So I got a chance to talk with him for our pregame radio show, and he was just as kind and open and willing to talk as he was as a player, which I was very appreciative of. In true Watt fashion, when I asked him how he likes working on TV and now critiquing the NFL and the players, he laughed. He said it's a yin-yang situation. The positive is my body's not taking any hits. The negative, I don't get to hit people anymore, which felt like a true J.J. Watt answer and one that he meant. Very happy to still be involved in the game, though, and had the opportunity to come back to State Farm Stadium. He had nothing but high praises to say about Kyler Murray's play and leadership. Same for James Conner. When I brought up Conner's name, an immediate smile, just a grin ear to ear, being a teammate with him and just the way Conner leads and plays. Watt had nothing but high praises for them. And from what he's seen from the Cardinals, a team which he described as resilient and fun to watch.
No, he does a good job on the air. He really does. I mean, he's one of those rare guys who can make the transition and be good network level right away. You know, the Jay Feelys of the world, you know, these other former Cardinals who all of a sudden get success in a network TV booth. So we wish them all the best. I'll just put it that way. By the way, I know where I was going with the whole assistant coach of the year. I was driving around yesterday. There was a national sports radio talk show. Here's another question for you, Dani. Have you ever listened to AM radio in your life?
Do you know what AM radio is?
I do, but I'll be honest, I don't really understand the difference of AM and FM, and I know I've asked Cody.
A and F.
Thank you. I know I've asked Cody and Omo about it before. It just, no. Hey, wait a second.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, wow. I shouldn't even bring this up.
Go ahead.
You guys probably don't know the answer to this. Wasn't, I'm going to ask Alex, who's running our cameras,
Wow,
even though he's much younger than me.
Is gonna be
Wasn't
bad
Radio
for us.
Disney an AM channel? I'm getting a thumbs up. Okay, yes, then I have listened to AM radio because as a kid, I
Cody
used to
behind the
listen
glasses
to
all
Radio
over
Disney.
that.
So
Alex
anyway.
is too young. He doesn't know. He probably doesn't even know how to work a radio.
So a lot of it now is morphed into radio, AM sports radio stations that are really just all betting all the time.
Ugh.
Okay. And there was one, the only reason I stopped because I'm like, wait a minute, are they talking? Yes, they are talking about Jonathan Gannon. They were talking about Jonathan Gannon in context of the most recent Coach of the Year odds. He's 20-1. And these two gas bags, like us, they were talking about, you know what? That's sort of a low-key good pick. Coach of the Year, Jonathan Gannon, 20-1. Now, full disclosure, we can't bet. We don't bet. I'm so glad we can't bet because I would lose a lot of money because I would lose consistently. But
Can I ask a question?
at 20-1, JG Coach of the Year, I might take that bet.
Were you a bettor in your previous life?
No, one time.
Well, then you wouldn't lose any money.
you're
right. I don't even
I lose
care that
early in
we
my
can't
life,
bet
yeah.
because I don't do
Yeah,
that.
that's
Like,
right. Yeah.
That just
No,
seems
it's true.
stupid to me.
Do you think people are betting on Wise Guy? Is that on any sports book?
You know what? If you might want to
My
call.
son works in a sports book. I'll ask him.
Yeah, there you go. And you
Hey,
know,
do you have Wise Guy up on your deal?
yeah, and if they are betting on it, then hand them the phone number for the 1-800 helpline. That's what you really need to do over there. Oh my goodness.
You want to go all Kevin
Yeah.
Durant on the sports bettors? Did you see that the other day, Paul?
I did not. I was
Wait,
too.
the player who works for FanDuel?
I guess I was too
What'd he say?
distracted by Kevin
Kevin
Durant
Durant?
ripping Stephen A. So now he went after a sports bettor as well.
Yeah. Apparently, the other day when they beat Portland, I think Kevin Durant ended up with like 18 points, and he made a little troll comment about what a great win. So sorry for all you guys in your parlays. And that brought a lot of people out of the woodwork angry at him about
man.
how he's making fun of their bets. And he doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down and basically said, "You're the one with the problem betting money." Like,
Doesn't he now work for FanDuel, though, is my point?
oh, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
he's
know.
doing stuff with Kay Adams on her show as well, which
Okay.
is sponsored
Okay.
by FanDuel.
I
So
don't
that's an
know.
interesting take for him to have.
I don't have a problem with it.
Is Trey McBride a regular with Kay Adams? I've seen him on with her before, correct?
Have you?
Yeah, I haven't, right? Wasn't he on last
He
year as
was. I don't
well?
know if he's a
No?
regular.
Okay. Is he poised to hit, sort of national stardom here by the end of the year? What do you think? Where do you think Trey McPlay is tracking? Because he is top 3 in catches and receiving yards and other tight end metrics. Stinking Travis Kelce on Monday Night Football. There I was against Zach Gershman in the fantasy football, and I had a 15-point lead. He had one player left, and it was Travis Kelce. So, of course, Taylor Swift has to show up to the game, and then he's got to show out. So he gets 14 catches for 100 yards, and I get trounced. But that's beside the point. What about Trey McBride?
Boy, that little point, I wish I was on a phone and I could use the Bruce Arians gif of him turning real quick because that was whiplash. He's got to have more than 0 receiving touchdowns. I mean, I'm happy for his other 2,
true.
but he does need to get the end zone a couple more times. But
You're right. I guess I so desperately.
He joined the national discussion last season, though.
Yeah,
so
I would agree with
he's
that.
part of it. He was on the National Tight Ends Day graphic,
Yeah,
which
it was
only
like right in the
handful
middle.
of tight ends. He's there, Paul.
Okay. All right. That's good. I guess I just want someone so desperately to replace and displace Travis Kelce that, it's. So the Jets are coming to town.
How'd you feel about DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, that was. Let me tell you, how does DeAndre Hopkins get traded for a 5th, and then Jonathan Mingo, the Cowboys give up a 4th for Jonathan Mingo?
I think a
from
lot of
Carolina.
Cowboys fans are asking that.
How did that happen exactly?
If we only knew some people that knew Cowboys fans that were staying in town right now in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. So, quick word on the Jets as we track towards Week 10. Hard to believe it's Week 10 right now, but here comes Aaron Rodgers and a Jets team that is beyond unpredictable. I have no idea what to make of a defense that absolutely destroyed Houston's offensive line. And C.J. Stroud looked bad. Now, he was without his top 2 receivers, but I am very curious to see how the Jets show up and which version of a Jets team.
You're going to talk to Hassan Reddick, are you?
I don't know. We'll see. I'll see if I can track him down after the game. I don't know if, we'll see what kind of recollection he has of Paulie Pencilneck. It was good to see Calais, but as for Hassan Reddick, I don't know. I do know that you have a Jets team that, let's just say, still has a chance. And if there's one thing that Aaron Rodgers enjoys is when people count him out and when he has a challenge in front of him. He loves proving people wrong.
Rodgers is never out of the game. Never, no matter how far down they are, how much time is left on the clock. He is too good with the ball in his hands. The Jets' offense has been inconsistent. There's only 2 games they've scored 24 points, and that's it. They have not been a consistent team. They're going through coaching changes and a whole bunch of adversity they're having to fight through. Does that make them more difficult, though? Coming in as a desperate team, trying to turn things around. You've got Hassan Reddick coming back to Arizona to State Farm Stadium. That could be a recipe for disaster. You cannot get in your head if you're the Cardinals. Not that I think they will, because of how intent the mental side and mental strength is stressed to these players by the staff. You cannot go in thinking that this is just going to be an easy game because the Jets have been all over the place and Rodgers might not be looking as good as he has in the past. You cannot get in your head about that.
Here's the most intriguing storyline to me. Everything Nick Rallis did against Caleb Williams, you got to throw out the window. You can't get away with that against Aaron Rodgers,
I would agree.
right?
I would agree.
I mean, think of how different the challenge is this week from a rookie quarterback to soon-to-be 41-year-old, 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers, right?
And if anybody knows these guys, it's Rallis and Gannon who have coached against him a number of times working for the Eagles and the Vikings. And so, I mean, they're going to know. They're going to know exactly what Aaron Rodgers is all about. But, I think everybody's known what Aaron Rodgers is all about, and they've got 3 wins. So, what does that mean? Is Devontae Adams going to be awesome? I mean, even the Houston game, the defense lit up C.J. Stroud, but I watched that whole game. Houston's offensive line, terrible. And then if it wasn't as good as their offense was, if Garrett Wilson, not Garrett Williams, but Garrett Wilson hadn't made 2 unbelievable one-handed touchdown catches, they're not even winning.
Although Malachi Corley did drop the ball before the end zone.
That's true.
There's that. Although I thought the Jets did a pretty dang good job against Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil
he got
Hunter.
Hurt early, though.
Is that what happened? Okay.
Will
I
Anderson
only
left
saw
that
the
game
fourth
early.
quarter.
No. He left the game early.
Because, there was virtually zero pressure.
No, Will Anderson got hurt early in the game.
I gotcha, okay.
And I don't think he returned.
Okay, interesting. Well, look, I reserve the right, if the Cardinals do win and go to 6-4, knock on fake wood again, to bust out our marketing mantra for this year. You guys remember what it was?
The Purge?
2023 dip for a 2024 rip.
That's
okay?
true.
I want that on. I was gonna say I want that on a T-shirt. I want that on an oven mitt.
You vote for Dani. Oh no, what was it? Sureck. Wait, what was it? What the heck? What was it again? You put that on one side.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Vote Sureck.
Yeah. Last thing I'm going to ask for, who wants to recount the story from Nick Rallis about Game Day Sunday, which also happened to coincide with the birth of his second son? How about that one? You talk
Quite-
about being locked in.
Well,
Quite
Dani was
the
in the middle of
day.
this too, by the way.
Oh, yeah? How so?
So in the press box, the CBS broadcast showed a picture of a baby that was born that day with the name Dominic Kaiser Rallis.
We don't have sound on the broadcast, of course, though. So this is
We don't
always
in the
always
press
the
box.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that, and I'm talking to Darren. I go, so defensive coordinator Nick Rallis, his wife had a kid today. And Darren said, yeah, I guess so. I said, so do we think it's a coincidence that the middle name is Kaiser?
Which, by the way, I love Dani, but that might have been the funniest thing anybody's ever asked me.
I didn't want to assume that he was going to name the child after his
I
starting
assumed 1,000,000%,
linebacker.
and I was never going to come off of that.
So the defense had a great performance. Kaiser White, one of the leaders. So I talked to him in my post-game interview, and I learned later that Rallis had not told the team that he had his kid that morning. So when I asked Kaiser White in the post-game interview, you know, Rallis had, his wife had their second kid, middle name is Kaiser, is there a connection there? He smiled. He was like, he told me he was going to do that, but I didn't believe him that he actually would. And so then after White talked post-game and Rallis talked Tuesday this week after the game, learned that, yes, that was a discussion. Rallis let his wife choose the first name, and he had a big hand in the middle name and has a long-lasting relationship with White from their time together in Philly, and just really admires the type of person and leader and player that Kaiser White is, and how that embodies who he is as a person, what you see on the field. So quite an interesting Sunday. I mean, the baby was born in the morning, so Rallis was at the hospital, still came not that much later than he normally does to the stadium on a game day, although his routine of going through his play calls and what he wants to run on his own at a coffee shop, he was doing in a hospital with his wife, who he said was,
after she gave birth.
he said she was all in on that. She was all in favor of
She's
him
all
going
ball,
in.
Paul.
All
She's all
ball.
about
She
ball.
she was in favor of him going to the game that day. So he, you know, that wasn't something that was just his decision. That was something they made together. But quite the day. And then Rallis earned himself a game ball, which I would imagine is probably one of the more special ones in his career. And I asked him, I said to Nick Rallis, I said, did you open a can of worms with any current or future players of trying to, and he cut me off the smile. He's like, no, I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, the middle name Dominic Kaiser Rallis is in fact named after linebacker Kaiser White.
Just as an epilogue too, like part of the reason he said he wasn't too worried about it is he was pretty sure he was going to stop at 2. Which, as somebody who stopped at 2, I think that was a good idea.
Can I give some free advice to Nick Rallis? If you haven't already, take the game ball and give it to your wife. Do yourself a solid, and let's just say she earned it, okay? Not only
She
delivery,
wants to win, Paul. That's what he kept saying.
but yeah, she wants to win an hour afterwards. She's got the play sheet, and she's quizzing her husband 4 hours before kickoff.
I don't think it was quite that. I think the way he kind of explained it was he kind of does it out loud. It was more like, do you mind if I do this right now while you're in the room?
I see. Okay.
And she was just kind of like, okay.
Okay.
So
All right.
I don't think she
Yeah.
was like looking at
Okay.
it
Yeah.
an hour after giving birth and saying, okay, 2nd and 8. Rodgers has got 3 tight ends in there. What are you calling? I don't think it was that.
Isn't like the old 3rd grade quiz cards for your vocab test, and you know. Hey, by the way, I finally have something in common with an actual NFL coordinator because my firstborn, September 9th, 2006, around 2 in the morning, and that at about 49ers, the very first game in the history of State Farm Stadium. And so up all night, I got about 45 minutes in the chair in the hospital room, went home, took a nice cold shower, pounded a bunch of coffee, and said, let's go.
Did you give your wife the game ball?
Someone still owes me a game ball, and they should feel bad because, yes, my
Danny
wife
Green?
earned it. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, Danny Green at that moment.
They won that game.
Yes, they
did.
did.
Lose the next 8 in a row, but they won that game.
See, this is why I lose in Wise Guy Trivia. He comes up with that out of nowhere. Even when I win.
Kurt Warner won
I lose.
NFC Offensive Player of the Week for that
Okay,
game.
that's enough.
I didn't know
That's entirely. You're right, Dani. You know what? On that flex, we're done. We're like so done here on this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation.